I do want to thank you so much for coming. We want to answer 3 questions for you. We want to answer the question, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And then how are we doing it? Because this is really the culmination as far as completing our church campus. We've got a bunch of slides to go through with you here, and so I'm going to let the slides kind of tell the story for me. Unfortunately, Jason Fisk and I were going like, hey, you got a laser? And I've always had a laser pointer. I've lost my laser pointer. So I've got to go get a new one. And I said, tonight I need a laser pointer. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's look at the first little slide here. Have you ever wondered why God didn't show you your future in advance? Why? If God had shown me my future and my family's future, that we would be asked to come down in 1988 to Chula Vista to start New Hope Community Church, and that for the next 20 years, 2 months and 3 weeks, but who's counting, that we would be in Bonita Vista High School. We would get up at 6 a.m. every Sunday morning, go in, set up church, first in the Bowles Theater, and then we used a few classrooms. Then we moved over to the gymnasium. If you weren't with us during those times, we had to literally cover the entire gym floor with blue mats, put down all the chairs, put up the sound system, put up the curtains, go get about 7 or 8 classrooms ready. If God would have told me, you're going to do that for 20 years, 2 months, 3 weeks, I would have probably looked at God and said, you know what? You got the wrong guy. But after that, to get on this piece of land and to have this campus be constructed, the last 9 years since we've been here has been literally a dream come true for me. So maybe He doesn't show us our future because we may have some second thoughts about it. One of the things that has happened here since we've been on this campus is the church has grown. When we moved here, we were running, it says 385, we were actually running 365 when we moved onto this campus. And here at New Hope, we count anything that moves, but we only count it once, okay? All right, so if you teach Sunday school stuff, we try not to inflate our numbers. We're not about that. So we had 365. Right now, in January, this past month, we averaged over 800 people in our services and so forth like that. So we have grown. We have grown. Another thing that we're very proud of in the years that we've been here, there's been 820 people who have been baptized. That's the next slide. 820 people have been baptized here at the church and so forth. So those are people, again, who are making that public profession of faith in Jesus Christ. That's what we're all about. But when I think of our church and where we've been, it's been really, really awesome. But I truly believe the best is yet to come. And that's symbolized by this little iceberg here. What I think we've seen to date is really just the tip. And what really is beneath is so much more than we can imagine. And I do believe, in like Paul wrote in Ephesians 3:20, that God works in our life. He does more than we can even think, more than we can imagine, more than we can even dream about. And I believe that's going to be true here at New Hope. But as good as things are, we are facing some challenges here at our church. And the challenge is this. Our major challenge is this, right here. No, not that kind of space. Okay, no, not that space. This kind of space right here. Building space. We're facing building space. In order for us to continue to do what we believe God has called us to do, our space that we have now pretty much we're pretty much maxing it out. So we're kind of at a point to where, what are we going to do on that? The next slide shows a bell curve. Every living thing has a bell curve. You can do this for your business. You can do this for your life. We can do it for our church. And when we had this bell curve going, when we were still at Bonita Vista, I want to tell you something. We were not at the top of the bell curve growing. We were actually declining. In fact, before we ever moved on this campus, there was one year we averaged 499 people at Bonita Vista High School. When we moved onto this campus, we were averaging 365. We were going the wrong way on the bell curve. It was not a very bright future that we had here at New Hope on that. Research shows that the average person is usually within 5 years of the age of the pastor, either older or younger. So this is kind of a fun thing. The next time you go to visit some other church when you're on vacation, on that, all right? How old is your pastor? Then look around at the people and see if that's true. There usually will be about 5 years or 10-year span of when the age of the pastor. And that was pretty true here at New Hope. If you see, look at the next slide. When the church first started, Janie and I were asked to move here back in 1988. We were in our early 30s. And so as the church, those first 9, 10 years, the average age of our congregation were people who were in 30s as well. Like attracts like. But unfortunately, as we get older, there is no fountain of youth that we've found. And so the trend doesn't go back. It keeps going the other way. And then as we got older, the church got older. In the 1998 to 2002, the average age of the church member was up now to 40s. And when we finally moved here on our campus, the average age of our majority of our people, they were in their 50s. That is not a prescription for a long-range health for a church, all right? And so we as we looked at that, we said we have got to change. We've got to change our bell curve. How do you do this? Well, one way you do this, because I'm not getting any younger, is you hire younger staff. That's one way to reverse this trend, and that's what we've done. Currently, there's 14 pastoral and support staff total on our staff. Some are full-time, some are part-time. One is in their 20s, but look, 6 are in their 30s. 6 are in their 30s. 2 are in their 40s. 1 is in their 50s. I'm so glad that last bullet got cut off. 4 are in their 60s. I am one of them. There's some dinosaurs. That I didn't do that on purpose. It just kind of fell at the bottom. Sorry about that. But we have gotten younger because we've hired younger staff. That was very important to us. A second way you can reverse that trend is also by your programming. If you come on our campus on a Monday through Saturday, with Tiny Tots going, our after-school programs, New Hope After School, our sports programs going. There are over 1,000 people that will come through the doors of our church Monday through Saturday. 75 to 80% of them have nothing to do with our church. They are here to do a program. They are here to participate in a sport. Their child is in Tiny Tots. So we have bukus of people coming through our doors every week, and that's exactly what we want to see happen. Exactly what we want to see happening, our programming. Our primary target here, and you may not have heard this if you're kind of new to our church, here's our primary target. Here's who we go after. Our primary target church at New Hope Community Church are children. Children. Why do we target children? Well, there's some very important reasons for that. Number one, 2/3 of all people who ever profess faith in Jesus Christ will do so before the age of 18. 2 out of every 3 people that become a Christian will do so before the age of 18. But then some other information that came out from the Barna Institute or Barna Research, he's kind of like the Christian George Gallup. They came out with some information, I'm going to say almost 10 years ago now, but they found out that by a child reaches the ripe old age of 13 in middle school, by the time a child is in 7th or 8th grade, their basic spiritual formation is set for the rest of their lives. Now, you think about that. That is absolutely frightening to think about. And so we said if there's an ounce of truth in that statistic, we're going to do everything we possibly can to touch the heart of a child while that child's heart is still soft towards God. And so what we have done is we have targeted children. But here's the other thing that we knew. A child cannot drive to come to church by themselves. Or I hope they can. Or if they can, let me know so I'm not out on the road at the same time. And so we know that we were reaching families. We were reaching families, and we have done that. Since we've been on our campus, our average age used to be 50 getting older. Now the greatest number of people in our church family are this age right here. Next slide. 35 to 45. The majority, the single most age group that is the majority of our population, 35 to 45, young families with kids. What we have been able to do here is this. We started a new bell curve. So the other bell curve, we were on the downhill slope, which we didn't want to be on. When we moved to this campus, we started a brand new bell curve. And notice that curve is still going up. It is not plateaued. It is not declining. We still have a bright, bright future ahead of us. One of the things that has bothered me, that I've always been concerned about, is kind of what we call the bridge, so to speak. The next slide. Building bridges with our community. Building bridges with our community. That is absolutely crucial. And I spent a boatload of time thinking, how do we as a church, with the greatest news in the history of the world, we got the news on how to solve spiritual cancer, we've got the cure, how do you get that message out to people? How do you build bridges between the church and the community? If you ask somebody in many churches, hey, how do you guys reach the unchurched? I'm going to tell you what most churches would tell you. It's through our Sunday morning worship services. I've been to so many different churches where I go in and it's like there are no lost people in this church. It's just the people who are already Christians. They're already here. So what impact are we making for the kingdom of God? What are the bridges we are building between ourselves and the community on that? We have worked very hard on this. And here's what has happened. Because of all the programs that we offer, our programs bless those in our church as well as those in our community. That's what we have found to be true. Whether it's our sports program, basketball, volleyball, soccer, that type of thing, our activities, I think the bottom left slide there, that's from one of our Easter egg hunts and so forth. If you go to the next slide, so it's either our sports programs, our New Hope After School, Clint Taylor heads that up for us, has so for the last several years, and has done a fantastic job. There's archery, there's martial arts, there's dance, there's gymnastics. There's all kind of classes that kids come here to take after school, or maybe even it's our Tiny Tots program. This is, we got another slide on Tiny Tots, I think. This program has literally blown up in a good way. Right now, this program is maxed out as far as taking new kids. They occupy our entire building Monday through Friday. They occupy the entire building on that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but they do a fantastic job on that. So by offering these programs, it's helped you who are already here, but it also blesses and helps our community. It allows us to build relationships with them. So the issue that we're now facing is this: how do we secure our present now for us, so to speak, as well as the future for the next generation? How do we do that? Well, first of all, let's go back and answer the why question. Why do we even do this? Why do we try to build bridges? Why do we offer the things that we do? Because it's our God-given mission. It's the mission of the Christian church. We are here to influence and win as many people as we can towards a relationship with Jesus Christ. That is the reason God has you here on this earth, folks. Why didn't God just, when you become a Christian, you were you got a one-way ticket to heaven. Why didn't God just take you home? Why does He leave you here? He leaves you here. He leaves me here. He leaves our church here so that we can influence more people and see more people come to Christ. That's the why. And we can never, ever forget that. Never forget that. That's our mission statement on that. And every generation is tasked with the task of making the good news of Jesus relevant to their generation. What worked in the rural South where I grew up doesn't work in Southern California. You don't do church the same way. We have to find out what will reach people in Chula Vista, California, in our culture, in our climate. And so we've worked hard to do that. If you look at our next slide, by completing our campus, it's going to allow us to improve what we currently do and provide more opportunities for the future. If we stay where we are, well, let me just look at the next slide. What if we don't do this? What if we just stay as we are? What if you stay with the facilities we've got now? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. First of all, it's going to reduce our ability to impact our community. And then eventually that bell curve, we're going to plateau just like we did at Bonita Vista, and we're going to start declining. There's no reason that has to happen. But if we stay here, I'm afraid that's probably exactly what is going to happen. It's almost like this next slide. It's almost like a shoe telling a foot, you can't grow anymore because there's no more space in the boot. We can't allow that to happen. And here's what we've seen. With starting the Thursday night worship service here at New Hope, for the last 3 years, we had kind of plateaued. We've kind of plateaued. Our attendance had been pretty stable around 740. And we said, man, we've got to get off of this thing. And we had tried a lot of things to do that, hadn't really been successful. We said, let's try. We heard at a conference our staff went to a little over a year ago. We heard the idea of a Thursday night worship service because so many families have obligations during the weekend. If you've got children, they're playing club ball or whatever, you're gone half the year on Sundays. You can't come to church. Some of you say it's the only day I've got to rest. So it made more and more sense, let's try a Thursday night service. So we did that. Some of you have attended our Thursday night service. It has been better than I thought it would be. Oh, me of little faith, so to speak. But it has really been much better than I thought it would. As a result of starting at Thursday night service, our average attendance now for January is over 800. We've never done that before. We have never done that. That new Thursday night service has helped push us over the top. And today, all of our services on Sunday have not been heard at all. We had a great crowds in all of our services this morning as well on that. So the new building, though, will allow us to continue to expand our programming and the various ministries here at our church. Here's a picture. You say, well, that's our current building. Well, no, that's actually the exterior of the new building. But when we first laid out our campus way back in 2007, I believe it was designed so that the courtyard would be the center point, the focal point of our campus with two buildings on either side. So this new building architecturally will look very similar to our current building as well on that. What's going to go inside the new building? We have floor plans. This is where I really need my laser pointer. Let me just kind of go over here and I'll just have to point, all right? We're going old school. A new worship center. A dedicated worship center, not where you play basketball. Although I was trying for that, they wouldn't let me do it. Sorry. All right. New worship center. It physically or space-wise, it'll be a little smaller than our current facility. It'll seat 400 plus. You can also seat people right out here in the lobby as well, but 400 here. A dedicated space that you're not going to have to worry about seeing the basketball goes, a stinky floor or, walls that are scuffed up because of balls on that. So a new worship center. And then our classroom space on the first floor, you've got large classrooms, larger than the classrooms we have now for grades 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then over here, you also have another brand new nursery over here as well. You also have some storage space, which we have none here, absolutely none. Room 6 was originally designed on our plans for this building to be a storage room, and we said, storage, my foot, we need the space, give us the space. So there is no storage whatsoever here. We have the storage containers out there. So we have on the bottom floor this far room at the very top there. That is total storage. We're also going to put a cement slab on the back, build an overhang, a covering for that. So we'll have some really real storage space in this on first floor. Second floor looks kind of like this. You're going to see again classrooms, large classrooms, 4 right here, 2 smaller ones there. These are primarily targeted for adults. And so you can have small groups here. Plentiful small groups can meet on our campus now. Sunday morning classes, the whole 9 yards. Then in the top right, that is the youth center. Much larger than what we currently have, which we're in desperate need of that. So they'll have a brand new worship space just for them, a hangout just for them. So that is the new building. So then the question is, what's going to happen in the old building? I'm so glad you asked. I wanted you to know. Here we go. Next slide. Oh, and actually, these are the new building. Again, dedicated worship, larger rooms, larger nursery, youth room, classrooms, storage. Now we go to the next slide. This is the existing building. So here I am up on the stage right there. You're out here. What's going to happen in our gym? In our gym on Sunday mornings, if you've ever been here for Vacation Bible School and you've seen the kids who are up here leading our worship, and you've got 100 and something kids on the floor going crazy during worship, crazy in a good sense. They're doing the songs, the motions, and so forth. That's what's going to happen in the gym on Sunday mornings. And so our children will come in here for their worship time. Then they'll go to their classes as well. Then during the week, the gym will be used even more than it's used now. So right now on Thursday nights, our band practices in here, so there's nothing that can happen here on Thursday nights. The band goes to the new worship center, so to speak. So this will be opened up for court play, more different things that we can do. Tuesday nights, the youth use this. They'll have their own building, so they won't necessarily have to be here. So there'll be a lot more activities going on as far as sports leagues. One of the things that we will look to do, new things, because again, new programs help you to grow. We can do something like indoor soccer. Actually do indoor soccer here type of thing. Our classrooms, this facility now, as I mentioned to you earlier, all of our classrooms, room 2, 3, 4, which is a double room, 4 and 5, room 6, 7, and 8 are all used for Tiny Tots Monday through Friday. Over 200 kids are in that Tiny Tots program. It's incredible what's been going on with that. This on Sunday mornings, though, will be all dedicated preschool through K. And so they'll have bigger, larger rooms that they can, really go into and utilize and so forth. So this will be preschool, elementary, kindergarten, probably kindergarten may stay here, but grades 1 through 5 will be in the new building. And then if you notice too, up in the right, far left-hand corner up at the top, that's the current youth room. What's going to happen there? I'm very excited about this. One of the ways that more people are being attracted to churches is through the music. And so we have one style of music here for 3 services. Pastor Jason and his team, what they've done has been a dream come true to see our worship now. It's something we had dreamed about for years, and it's become a reality. But we realize not everybody necessarily likes that kind of music. So in the smaller worship space there, we will be able to do an alternate music venue. So maybe you may say, I like, traditional. Maybe I like softer music, just acoustic and stuff. We'll survey to see what kind of music people like, but we'll be able to do a different style of music in there. We will pipe in the message. You'll see it live, so to speak, but it'll be a video feed on that. And so that's another thing that we're very excited for as far as our existing building, our existing facility. Then the outside. Here's an overview shot of the entire campus. Well, I think if we go to the next one, I think I have my slides here. Yeah, here we go. Children's worship, classrooms for pre-K, okay, old youth and worship space, expanded sports. Now we go to the next slide. If you look at our parking area, when we were talking initially to our architectural team and the company that's going to be constructing, the construction firm, they're the same companies that we worked with to build this. I believe it was just last year, the lovely state of California, as conservation and environmental and friendly we are, passed new rain runoff laws that the water from rain, all the torrential downpours we get here in San Diego, all the 6 inches a year, in fact this year probably about 4 I think, but anyway, you have to clean that. You have to catch that water and clean it and then release it into the storm drains. So here's what they told us we're going to do. We were going to put these humongous plastic water tanks under the ground where our dirt is right now. Pave over it, and then when it rains, the water would be filtered into these tanks. It would hold it there till it reached a certain height. Then it would release it to eventually go down into our swell to drain into the storage drains. That had a price tag of about $400,000. We are flipping out going like, you got to be kidding. And I can't remember how this came up, but all of a sudden as we were talking, we said in our parking lot, all the dirt in the parking lot, we said, what if we just kept that grass and parked on it? And they said, well, that may solve all your problems with the rain runoff water. We said, let's check that out then. Now what they're going to make us do, we're going to dig a hole about 8 foot deep, I think. I don't know how wide it is. So all the massive water runoff can go in there. But it's not going to be $400,000. In fact, it's the cheapest thing that we could possibly do. And so as a result of that, we said, here's what will happen. All this area that we can park in. How many of you have ever been and seen a sporting event at the Rose Bowl? Did you park on the golf course? Okay, all right. There are now churches, if you've been to Southwest Church in Palm Desert, big church there, they park on their grass. They have some asphalt parking as we do, but they park on their grass. You go to the Rose Bowl, you park on a golf course, you go to see the football game, then get back in your car and drive off the golf course and off you go. We're going to be seeding this area. We're going to make it grass fields so that we can park on it on Sundays. Our parking will more than double. Right now we have about 250 parking spaces. 150. We'll have about 325 parking spaces once we do this. But you can park on it on Sundays. But the rest of the week, we'll use that for various sports ministries. Our playground for our children, this will be more than double what we currently have right here. Be going along the side of the building here. But in these grass areas, we'll be able to offer new camps, new leagues for kids. We're talking about doing things like rugby, field hockey, lacrosse, a kickball league type of a thing. So we're looking at all different kinds of leagues and camps to expand that. Again, the idea that new programs help the church to grow on that. It's saving us a boatload of money. It'll look a lot more attractive. And so that's what we're doing on our outside on that. I think we have one more slide. Well, the parking, 300 plus, bigger fields. We've already talked about that. Then this last slide for me. What's the process? Where are we currently at? We're currently at 90% construction drawings. So we hope in a matter of just a few weeks, we'll be finished with our drawings. They will be submitted to the city of Chula Vista. That is no man's land. We do not know if it will take 3 months, 5 months to get through the permitting process there. But as soon as we're through with that, then we begin construction. Our prayer and our belief is it will be this summer. And it will take us about 12 months to finish. So hopefully by the summer of next year, we will actually move into our new building. So we've talked a little bit about why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? We talked about what are we doing. Now I'm going to ask Jason Fisk to come up, and Jason's going to share with you how are we going to do this. Jason is on our stewardship team and has been for several years. He is a law professor at Thomas Jefferson School of Law. Actually, he's one of the deans there. He's been a blessing to our church. He and Rob Johnson, where's Rob is here tonight too. There's Rob. 5 years ago now, back in 2013, we did a capital giving campaign, kind of like what we're doing now, but it was simply to pay down debt. And we asked for 2-year pledges. Our church family, which was much smaller then, pledged about $950,000. But Rob and Jason worked out a process that was so impressive. The guy who did our bond issue had never seen this before. He's now taken what they've done and spread it all across America. Because what we did was a series of short-term, what they came up with, some short-term bonds that we would pay off in 3 years, and then longer-range bonds, nothing necessarily in the middle. Because of what they've done, we paid off $1.5 million in a little over 2 years to get our existing mortgage down so we can actually move forward with this building. So I so much appreciate what Jason's done. He's going to come and talk to you a little bit about how are we going to do this project. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much. It's really great. That is quite bright. Yeah, it's really great to see all of our New Hope family together tonight. I know Janelle and I, my wife, and our kids come to New Hope because New Hope feels like our home. This is what we are. This is part of our community, and we enjoy every moment, and it really blesses our family. Now, what part of my presentation today will be not just the context of where we are today, but kind of looking back to see how we got to today. Because this has been a long process. And so I know that we have people who have been here maybe 2 weeks. We have people who've been here 25 years. And so to have that kind of context, I think, is very important. But one thing that I know for a fact that my family wouldn't be attending here, and no one would be in here in this room right now if not for Russ Cox and his wife, Janie. So please, let's give them a big round of applause. Their vision for this, their senior leadership vision for this, is why we are here and why we can move forward with this. So if we could go to the next slide, well, I'm going to take us on a little journey back to the future. And so there's really 2 stops on our journey. Stop number 1 is going back to 2008. So in 2008 or so, as mentioned, was when we were able to move into this beautiful facility that was slightly before our family started coming here. But what I'd like to have is anyone who was attending this church in Bonita Vista, if you could stand up right now. Stand up right now. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. It was their blood, sweat, and tears and financial sacrifice that allowed us to get into this facility that we're in right now. It's easy to take that for granted, but without that foundation to now, there is no future for this all. That we are here because of that. We're in this building now because of that. So if we can go to the next slide. Stop number 2 on our journey. Let's fast forward the clock to 2013 now. We've been in the building here about 5 to 6 years or so. In 2012, Russ comes to the stewardship committee and starts to tell us and project forward the growth and everything he just went through, and says, we are plateauing. We are going to be plateauing soon. We need a plan. We need something that can help us be able to propel forward and get that phase 2. Part of the vision of 2008 in this building, if you noticed in the plans, it wasn't just a phase 1. There wasn't just one building in the plan. All along, the plan was phase 2. That's the completion of the campus, and we are here today. But we couldn't have done so without 2013. I love the name of the current campaign. Our future is now. I love that. That wasn't always the case. If you notice back in 2013, it was called the Foundations for Our Future. And so we started to lay the financial foundations in 2013 for a 5-year plan to get to the present. And so if you were here in 2013 or earlier, now all of you please stand up. See, you're not going to get off the hook here, even if you're then. If you're 2013 or that includes the 2008 people. So yeah, back again. Now let's give them a round of applause. So once again, and thank you. And that's the last time, don't worry. So again, without their financial sacrifice, none of this would be possible. When we looked in 2013 and said we need to complete phase 2, we had cost estimates and things. And at that point, it was not going to work. It was not a prudent decision financially for our church to move forward at that time. So we came up with a 5-year plan. And part of that 5-year, the big bullet points of that was we needed to pay down our debt at that point. We needed to prepare our finances of the church, the day-to-day operations, for an operation that could support both here and there. That was part 2. And then finally, to get ready to qualify for the next phase. If we can go to the next slide. So how did we do on each one of those? Well, as Pastor Russ mentioned, for number 1, since 2013, we have paid down millions of dollars of our debt to be able to get us to today, 2018. Second, prepare the finances for phase 2. In 2013 and previously, the finances, and there was a lot of work by the stewardship committee on this front, we were not there. We were not ready. But in the last 5 years, thanks to all of your consistent support, we are now at a spot where we are ready to go with that. And number 3, get ready to qualify for phase 2. Well, that brings us to the next slide. So we have come a long ways in these decades of being in this building and getting to today. And so we are now at a juncture where we have 2 paths in front of us. Either one of these paths will get us to phase 2. We are in a strong position. Either path will get us to phase 2. If we can go to the next slide. But path number 1 is what's called a bond issue. When we initially came into this building, you could generally speaking, you can finance construction through either bond issues, which we did in 2008, or a conventional loan, which is just anyone who goes down and get a mortgage. Those are your 2 options generally. Path 1, so if we have to do this now, that will cost us about $400,000 in fees to do that, which, we could do it, but that's a lot of money. The aggregate interest would be paying about 7%, which if you know the mortgage rates right now, not the greatest in the world. So, this will get us there. But we don't want to have to go through this path. So that brings us to path 2. So path 2 is getting a conventional loan, which we now are very close to being able to qualify for, which instead, for the fees, would be $500. So, I've done some math, but I'm no math major, but I would rather pay $500 than $400,000 in fees. The interest rates would be lower. The net result of path 1 versus path 2 is about $1 million of savings for the church. So let's go path 2. That sound good? That sounds good? So how are we going to go path 2? Next slide. How do we qualify? What do we need to do that? This has been a long process. Let's go to the next slide. 3 things that, in general, that we need. Number 1, solid financial statements. Check, we are there. We've come a long way on that front. They have confirmed we're looking good. Let's keep that up. Number 2, growing attendance figures for the church. And so back in 2013, it was looking a little shaky at that point as far as being able to qualify for that much for the finances we needed. But since that point, as Russ pointed out, we are growing. We are perfect shape. Let's keep it up. Keep bringing your friends. And number 3, next slide. A successful $1.5 million capital giving campaign. That's a whole hoping to put a check mark next to it. So that is where we are now. This is the last step and check in the box that we need to be able to qualify for path 2, which would save the church $1 million. And so to get to the $1.5 million total, that may sound like, whoa, that is a lot of money. And it is, that I'm not saying it's not. There's no doubt there. Let's go to the next slide. In 2013, in this very room, actually, we came forward and we were able to raise, ended up pledging $950,000, but ended up getting in over $1 million in pledges. That was a 2-year campaign. Notice here, so this is if you could pull out your this card that's on your table, or you might have said this card right here. This right here shows in 2013 what New Hope Community Church did in that campaign. We had far fewer members at that point. This is, if you're curious, this is the number of people who gave at each dollar amount in 2013. Focus for this moment on the monthly amount pledged over the 2-year period and the giving units. Go to the next slide. This is the 2018 projection for us. For us to get to 1.5 million, all we have to do is do the exact same thing that we did before, except we're much larger now. So I hope we can do much better than that. But to qualify, the whole first column is exactly the same. The whole second column is exactly the same. The third column is different because it's a 3-year pledge rather than a 2-year pledge. So this is just showing that it's very possible for us to do, and we are right there. This is the moment. The campaign's called The Foundations. This is our future is now. So we can, all those slides before we saw, there it is. And this is where we're at. If we can get to 1.5 million at least pledged, checked in the third box, and we have made it. So now notice here, it takes everyone. So sometimes people might think whatever dollars, figures in their mind, I can't sacrifice any more, or the amount I'm going to give is so little, it can't possibly even make a difference. This chart requires everybody at all levels. The people, the 84 giving units at that level, super important, including, of course, the top one's important too, but there's a lot less of them. We need, as a family, if we can all come together and pledge what you can, then we are there and we can do it together. Now, keep in mind that this is pledges that are above the normal, what you're currently giving to the church. This is the financial sacrifice between you and your family and God above that. So if you're saying right now, oh, okay, I'm giving $100 a month or $10 a month or whatever it is, and say, well, okay, I'm going to pledge that, then, that doesn't help. It's above that for the pledges. Just keep that in mind. So, okay, so that's that. I just wanted to show it's possible. We are there as a team and a family and community, and we are this close. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Next slide, and we can bring up Antoine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. Let's give him a round of applause. I finally made it to the stage. Thank you very much. But I feel sometimes I just bought a car, so I feel this is going to be interesting because part of that process of buying a car, you're all excited about the car, and then all of a sudden you meet the finance guy, and you're like, oh, okay. So I'm not the finance guy, but I'm the guy that really going to tell you a little bit more about how to make a donation. And it starts off with our website. So if you can click on this next slide. When I got to this position, I had 2 tasks. One, to attend regularly, yay. And the next task was to really update our website. If you know, how many of you go to our website? Wow, fantastic. Well, if you know anything about our website was not the most innovative place. Yes or no? Can I get an amen? Oh my God, I've always wanted to do that. I did it. And so my first task was to say, let's update our website. And so we did some amazing things on that website. We made sure that the calendar was there for you guys who wanted to really stay in touch with what we're doing at New Hope. We also had some great graphics and some other things. One of the things that I put on that website was a giving link. How many of you give online? Well, today is a great day because I want to share with you what that's all about. We have a giving list. And so if you're really into technology and 21st century giving, if you click on the website and go to the giving link, you're going to see this page right here. As a matter of fact, it's going to say give online. How many of you give online? How many of you go to Amazon? Then you give online. And so we're going to ask for you to use that link to go through the process of giving to the church. And there's a couple things you can do with those funds. Click on that, go a little bit further. You click on that. One more page. Good. This is our giving page. Now, the best thing about this is all drop down. So once you start to figure out what am I going to contribute to the building fund, you're going to go ahead and add a certain amount here. Once you do that, it's going to ask you some critical questions. What do you want to give to? Now, you can do your tithes here, yay, but you can go one step further. And that's basically saying, I'm going to go ahead and allocate X amount of dollars weekly, monthly to the building fund. That's all it's doing. More importantly, it's going to say, when would you like to start this? Would you like to start tonight? How would you like to start tonight? I'm disappointed. How would you like to start next week? How would you like to start at the beginning of the month? How many of you will not raise your hand no matter what I say? Fair enough. Well, you're going to have to start at some point. We pray that you start at some point, but it's there really for your convenience so that you can say, I'm part of this. I really want to be part of this whole growth in the church, and it really begins with me. So this page right here, if you go to the giving link, and actually it's up here again, click on Give, drop down, and you're good to go, all based on your credit card or even your bank statement. So we have ways that you can give online. However, how many of you have a silly thing called an iPhone or Android phone? Fair enough. How many of you can know that you can give on your iPhone? Fair enough. Click on the next one. We actually have an app. Yay. How many of you do the app in church? Fair enough. How many do the message in church? I'm the guy. Thank you very much. You're welcome. How many of you listen to the podcast on the iPhone? I'm also not the guy. That's the guy back there. But I'm the guy that puts it all together. I'm excited about our app because it really allows us to stay connected with the church. One of the things you can do here, if you go to our website, you're going to see that you can download either the iPhone version or the Android version. On that page, or on this first screen, you're going to see a Give link. That link emulates exactly what you're going to see on the website. As a matter of fact, you can do the exact same thing on the website, even on the iPhone or Android app. So there are multiple ways for you to participate in this wonderful campaign. We really want to make it not traditional, but relevant. And so if you are a traditional giver, hey, the baskets work perfectly fine. But if you're an innovative giver, you've got technology, that works fine as well. Next slide. So one of the things we have is keeping track of your giving statements. So tax season's coming around, so if you're really interested keeping your papers in order, fair enough, but sometimes people forget. So if you log on to the CCB with your username and password, if you don't know what that is, Valerie in the church office will be able to help you through that process. You'll be able to track your giving and also have some type of documentation so that you can keep aware of how far in this process have you gone through. And so again, there are great resources for you to stay connected, stay financially connected, and stay connected with your New Hope family. So again, I think that's my last slide. No, it's not. But I think I've already talked about that. So again, I think my next person is going to be Anthony and Christopher from Thrivent Financial. So again, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to you giving online with this tool or our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name's Christopher Fenimore, and for the next 90 minutes, we are going to talk about, no, just kidding. I actually don't even have any slides, so it's great. But who I am, and then my business partner, Anthony, we're both financial advisors for Thrivent Financial. Has anyone heard of Thrivent? All right. Well, we've created a great relationship with New Hope in helping on that financing part. So the how part that Jason kind of talked about on qualifying for that conventional loan, that's how our partnership started. So Thrivent is this very, very large Fortune 500 membership organization of Christians, a full financial services company, matter of fact, that started in early 1900s. So a lot of us necessarily haven't heard of us, so that's why we're trying to create this relationship and make you aware of our company. And what I wanted to talk about today is we do a lot of workshops, and we have one on February 25th about ways to give. So Thrivent, this membership organization, our mission is to help our members be wise with money. And through that, you can then strengthen the communities in which you live and serve in. So that's our mission as a financial services company. We have very competitive products and services, and guided with our financial guidance, hopefully we're helping you be more generous with your money. So today I'm just going to kind of talk about just 3 simple ways to give. They go in a lot more detail in our workshop that we're going to have on Sunday the 25th. So if you do want to attend that, there is an interest form in the back corner. There's also some evaluations here at your table. If you would like to fill those out or attend, please do so. And then also on some of the ideas that I'll talk about today, that if you have any interest there, we would love to sit down with you. There's no cost to do that, just to give you a checkup or some more information on how to give. So I break it down in 3 ways, and that is you can give spontaneously, intentionally, or you can be planned. You can do planned giving. So spontaneous is mostly a cash type of donation. So maybe a disaster relief that came out, something that kind of pulls an emotional strain on your heart. Does anyone kind of remember where maybe you saw something on TV or maybe it's something at work or church and you just kind of quickly took out your checkbook and wrote a check? Kind of recall that? That's spontaneous giving. Now we can get into more intentional giving where there's a little bit more thought and deliberate. So for instance, a capital campaign. Part of the tithe, so something that's with work or church, you're committing to something. Perhaps you can give a gift of appreciated stock. So here's a little tax-wise planning, is maybe you have some stock that has some growth and some gains in it. You can give that to your church, and the church doesn't pay capital gains tax, and then you use cash then to buy the same amount back, and now you've increased your cost basis, and then that can potentially help you longer term with your own tax liability. So there's if that's kind of, a little thing, I never thought of, write that down. We're more than happy to follow up with you on that. But that's intentional giving. There's some thought, we're being deliberate. The fun stuff is more in the planned giving. And that's where our workshop kind of hits a lot of space, or a lot of the topics. How many people in the room are older than 70 and a half? There's a few of you out there, yes. Usually they're in the front, so that's good. That's good. Well, at 70 and a half, the IRS forces money out of your retirement accounts, whether you like it or you don't, and you have to pay tax on it. There's a great thing called a QCD, or a qualified charitable distribution. You can actually take that distribution and send it straight to New Hope, and they don't pay tax on it, and then you don't have to pay tax on it. And then maybe it doesn't increase your Social Security taxes or your Medicare taxes. So a qualified charitable distribution is a great strategy, planned, comprehensive, for you to then maybe help towards that $1.5 million building campaign in addition. So good tax planning in that you got a tax deduction when you put your money in, and then now you can give it to the church, and they don't pay tax on it. Another one's called maybe a donor advised fund. Has anyone heard of that? A DAF, or a donor advised fund? Would anyone like to kind of create a foundation like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, if they could? So my number 1 rule of thumb, by the way, for charitable giving is you don't have to be old, you don't have to be dead, and you don't have to be rich. So all these strategies, we can bypass all of those things. But a donor advised fund is no minimum down, is you can put money into a fund, and you can name it your family name, and you get a tax deduction on putting the money in, and then now you can grow that and then make grants while you're living. So it's a great way to kind of maybe teach your family or create a legacy long term. So you can give, you get a deduction, you can grow the funds, and then you can make grants. So give, grant, grow. It's a great tool, and it's one of the fastest growing charitable planning tools out there, called a donor advised fund. So little things like that. The last one kind of on planned giving I wanted to talk about is there's just simple things of renaming a portion of your beneficiary maybe on your retirement accounts. If it's going to your spouse, and then maybe after the kids, you name them, maybe you put 10% to New Hope, just by renaming the beneficiary, leaving retirement accounts there. Or we do something where you live, maybe a life insurance policy. Maybe there's one that your parents bought for you so long ago, and you get that small little premium bill, and you've paid it. Maybe it's paid up, maybe it's not. Maybe you gift that to New Hope, and then you start paying the future premiums, and you send it to New Hope, and you get a tax deduction. They own the policy. When you pass away, they get a lump sum. So those are kind of some quick little things just to think about as we're trying to raise that $1.5 million over the next 3 years. But as Jason said, all that little stuff counts. We don't want you to die. So that's why I did the life insurance thing last. But there's little things while you're living that you can do that are really fun that people just might not be aware about. So if there's a couple areas of interest, please mark it down. We'll follow up with you. Use us as a resource. Take it to your own financial advisor. Tell him if they're not talking about it. But that's the great thing that we like to do over at Thrivent. So thank you so much for your time.
Those of you who know me, been around me for a while, you know that I'm very passionate when it comes to finances, helping people get out of debt. I believe the greatest bondage in life is spiritual bondage, but I think close on the heel of that is financial bondage. And many times people say, well, I'd love to do that. I'd love to help whatever cause it may be. I'd love to go on that mission trip. You can't do it because you don't have your finances in order. And that's why we offer Financial Peace University. That's why we partner with groups like Thrivent. They're not here so much to sell you something. They're here to try to help you. And we bring in all these classes and workshops and stuff to try to help you understand how you can get out of debt and build a future for yourself. Dave Ramsey puts it this way. Sometimes you have to live like nobody else now, so later on you can really live like nobody else because you have done it the right way. And there's no reason any of us do not have a plan on how to manage the resources that God has given to us. So this is just a side note. Talk to the Thrivent people. They're there to help you. We're bringing them in for all kinds of workshops, getting out of debt, different ways to give on February 25th. And I'm learning stuff. I never thought about that. Gosh, I got an IRA. Maybe that's a great way to give type of thing. So just take advantage of it. They're there to help you. They're not there trying to sell you a bunch of stuff. They're there if they were doing that, they wouldn't be here at New Hope. They're there to help you on that. Well, let me just kind of wrap it up. What are we asking you to do? What are we asking you to do? And here's basically what we're asking you to do right here. We are prayerfully asking you to consider sacrificing. To consider sacrificing on that. It's already been mentioned, but we'll show the slide again. If you have come to our church after 2008, you are the beneficiary of people who have made sacrifices so that what we enjoy today is those who have gone before you. We paid cash for this land in 2001. It was $1.2 million cash. We did 2 capital giving campaigns, kind of what we're doing now, in the late 90s to raise that money, and we paid cash for this land. And then we did 2 other capital campaigns to get us in this building that you're enjoying now. We did the one to just get us in position where we are now. This one's the last one. I told stewardship, I said, this is it, guys. This is my last hurrah when it comes to capital givings. I said, this is my last one type of a thing. But it's our final step in completing our church campus. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider sacrificing. Well, what do you mean by that? Here's what we're talking about. We're asking you to prayerfully give an additional offering, a pledge over the next 3 years over what you're currently giving. Over what you're currently giving. And some of you are military and you may be saying, I'm not even going to be here in 3 years. You know what? On that, if this is your church, I'm going to be here another year or whatever, if God leads you to make a pledge for that 1 year, then you do that. One of the things I want you to be sure and understand is if you say, I'm going to do this, I feel God wants me to do this, I'm going to make a pledge over the next 3 years. But what happens if I don't make my pledge? We're not going to come hunt you down and say, well, you signed on the paper, you were calling in we don't do that. I hope you know us well enough here at New Hope. Nobody can ever say about our church, all you guys talk about is money. We don't do that here. You know that. Because we trust God. If we meet people's needs, then we believe the church is worthy of your financial support on that. God has taken care of our financial needs for 30 years now. I don't think He's going to let us down yet. But we want to encourage you to do what those who have gone before you. To get the nice things that we enjoy in life, we have to sacrifice. I don't know of anybody that can just go out and do whatever they want type of thing. None of us, I don't think, if you are that wealthy, we're glad you're here. We want to know who you are, okay? But most people, the nice things that you have is because you sacrificed, you planned, you budgeted, and you scrimped on other things to get where you are. So that's what we're asking you to do, is consider making that pledge. Next slide just shows us this. Remember, Jason mentioned this. You can't pay Peter, don't rob Peter to pay Paul type of thing. So like he said, we don't want you to say, well, I'm giving, let's say you're giving $1,000 a month. Well, I'm going to take 300 of that and I'm going to give it towards the building and then the 700. If you do that, then you're crippling our day-to-day operations of the church. This is sacrificial giving above what you normally would give. Maybe if you're not even, say, well, I'm really not even giving right now. Well, boy, what a great time to start. What a great time to start on that. Next slide for us, please. All of what is received during this campaign, designated for our building fund, it goes into account for the building. We do not use building fund money to run the day-to-day operation of the church. That's our general budget. You may wonder, why do we have two different color envelopes every week? The blue colored envelope is building. If you put money in that envelope and give it, it goes into a special fund to pay for the building. It's not going to go in to pay for lights. It goes in to pay for that. You give the white offering envelopes, that runs the day-to-day operations of the church on that. We've already mentioned to you this next one. In our last campaign, 2013, we had just 150 families. And we have a lot more families now. Jason mentioned this to you. Placed 947, 2 years, over $1 million came in. We paid off $1.2 million in debt in 2 years. And that's why we're in the position to move forward now with this final project. The average pledge, you can see that came out to about $6,313. And that was a 2-year pledge on that. Then the next slide, we have many more families now. We're simply asking you to go before God and ask Him what He would have you do in regards to this campaign, and then obey Him. We don't want you to do anything tonight. You'll see some of the cards on the tables. Those are just for you to look at and so forth. We want you to go home, talk to each other, talk to your family, talk to your spouse, and then we want you to pray. Just pray. Go ask God, God, what would you want our family to do? And if you feel God impressing you to do, then you just be obedient to God and do what He wants you to do. We're not going to come call, hey, we didn't get a card from you. What's wrong? We're not going to do that. Not going to do that. That's not how we roll here on that. Next slide for us. We do not expect equal gifts. And some of you are saying, hey, I'm barely just scrimping by. You may say, well, I can't do anything. I can do 10, whatever it might be. We don't expect equal gifts. We pray for equal sacrifice. That's what we pray for. So, some people may say, hey, I'll give, $2,000 a month or whatever. And that may be nothing for you compared to somebody else who says, I can't give $200, much less $2,000. So we each go before God, and we're not looking for equal gifts, but equal sacrifice. Together, we can do something far bigger than ourselves that will advance the kingdom of God. Next slide. This is just a copy of that little commitment card there, and just kind of breaks it down. Normally, here's what we think when this is approached us. We go and say, how much can I afford in my bank account? What have I got in the bank? Please don't do that. You're denying yourself God to work in your life. Go before God and say, what do you want me to do, God? And God may put something on your heart bigger than what you say, well, I don't know how I can afford that type of thing. Then you sit back and watch God work in your life and watch God do something through you that you couldn't say, there's no way I could do that. It's amazing how God does that. That's just to give you an idea of what would it look like over 3 years to make some type of pledge, and as far as that goes. So you have those in your packets. There's some on your tables as well. Next slide for us, please. One of the things that we want to do, we want to make sure and recognize those who contribute to make that building become a reality. You're going to get a brick. It's going to have your name inscribed. There's going to be a walkway. We're not sure exactly where it is. We're still figuring out the layout of the building, but it'll be there for years and years. You can come back and show your grandkids, hey, you see that name? I helped build this building here right there. So those will be there for you as well on that. We want to recognize your contributions on that. Again, so here's the last couple of slides for us right here. So here's what we're asking you to do. We finish up Nehemiah next Sunday. I had to think through Thursday, Sunday now. I'm really confused. I'm really get confused about it. Where am I at now? There's one more message this coming week, and we close out the Nehemiah series. The following Sunday and the following Thursday on that, we're asking everyone to bring, if you're going to make a pledge, bring that card. Because here's what happened. At the end of Nehemiah, when they celebrated building that wall, they had a great celebration, and it talked about them coming to worship and presenting gifts to God. And so we thought, man, what a great way to close out our time together. We're just going to ask you to come to the worship service, whether it's on Thursday or Sunday, and we're going to do the Lord's Supper that close out our services that day. When you come up to do the Lord's Supper, if you're going to make a pledge, there'll just be a basket on the table. You just drop it in, take the Lord's Supper elements, and it's just a way of worshiping God. So that's what we ask you to do on that. And then if you say, I'm not going to be here that week for some reason, but I want to turn in a card to the next slide, you can certainly do that before then at your earliest convenience. Antoine has mentioned to you, and by the way, I think he's trying to take my job up here. He's that guy's on here. That guy's good on the stage. On that. But he tried to show you different ways to give, traditionally through the old check, cash, whatever. There's, you can go online and all that kind of stuff. Anyone can help you set up that type of thing if you let us know on that. But if you can't do that on the 25th, if you want to give a pledge, certainly you can do that before that. Keep in mind that everything, again, next slide, all the money given for this purpose will only be used for what we discussed tonight, primarily to put us in position to move forward with our campus expansion on that. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for being part of our church family. And again, all we can ever ask of you to do, and this is what Janie and I will do, and we're asking you to do the same thing, is just go home and say, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want us to do in relationship to this capital giving campaign? Together, I really believe that this is what God wants us to do. I want us to move forward with that. At $1.5 million goal is very important to the financial company we're getting our loan from. They want to see that. And so we got a great track record. We see no reason why it won't happen on that. If you have questions, we're going to let you out early tonight. If you have questions, what I would like for you to do, because I know some of you say, it's been a long day, I'm ready to go home. There's some paper on your table. Just grab anything. Write down any question you have. Put your name on it. We will personally contact you and answer any questions you have about anything that's been said tonight. We want to answer your questions. When you leave tonight, Anthony and Chris from Thrivent are back there. If you want to stop by and ask them about some of the seminars, some of the things that they offer and the various things, please stop by and see them. We are partnering with them. We chose them as a church because of the integrity of their organization and stuff. So we believe in these guys. Again, they're not trying to sell you something. They're trying to help you. So make sure you stop by and ask them. We'll be around here as well. Make sure you stop by, see the finishes up there, some of the finishings, and you can ask about that. We're floating around. Let us help you in any way, answer any questions. Thank you for taking the time to come tonight. I hope you kind of got a vision now. Say, I get it. I know what we're trying to do. And just ask God, what do you want me to do in relationship related to that? All right. Let us close in a word of prayer. And again, I want to thank you for taking time. I know you're busy. It was worth it, though, just to come get the food, though. That was some really good food on that. But let's close in a word of prayer. And then again, thank you so much for giving us your time to this evening. Father, thank you for New Hope Church. Thank you for what you have done in and through the life of this church family, this church body. Thank you for the lives that have been changed, the impact in this community, the reputation that has been developed as people look at our church as a church not here to take, but a church that is to give, here to give to our community, to make a difference in so many different ways. We pray that you would continue just to give us an expanded vision of what you want to do in and through our church family. And we believe, God, that you've given us this land. You've given us this vision. You've put upon our hearts what you want us to do. And by completing our campus, God, it will open up so many more avenues to bless our church family, but also to bless our community. Help us never to forget our mission, why you placed us here, why you've left us here on this earth. I thank you that our eternal destiny is secure because of what Jesus Christ has done for us. And we have been wise enough to want to be your followers and develop a relationship with you. So our eternal destiny is secure. But God, you left us here because there's so many who do not know you, many who are eternally lost, and we are their light in this community to help them understand there is a different way to live. There is a God who's created you and a God who loves you and who died for you so that you can have a relationship with him. Help us to just keep searching to find more and more ways to be culturally relevant. Never change the message, God. We will never do that. But we will constantly look to change the ways we share this good news so people could embrace it and have their lives changed just as we have. We just commit our future to you. We commit this capital giving campaign to you. I would just ask, God, that each one would honestly go back and just spend some time alone with you these next couple of weeks, asking that question, God, what do you want our family to do? And as you prompt us, that we would just be obedient to you. And we trust you with the results moving forward, that building being built. God, that we believe it's what you want, but for some reason it's not. We're following you. You lead us wherever you want us to go. Thanks again for this evening. Thanks again for our church family. We just ask you keep your hand of blessing on your church here at New Hope. We ask this in your name, Lord Jesus. Amen. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you.